Hello everyone. This next fly I'm tying is the Childers Atlantic Salmon Fly. The hook I'm using is a Daiichi 2051 Salmon Hook Size 3/0. The thread for this part of the fly is the Uni-Nylon 70 Denier white. The tinsel for the tag is the Lagerton fine Oval Silver Tinsel. Start the thread at the return eye and trim the tag. Take a piece of the oval tinsel and remove a section of the tinsel down to the core. Secure the tinsel by the core and set it so the tinsel portion is even with the barb. Wrap with smooth wraps to that point. Wrap a base for the tinsel and spiral the thread out of the way. Wrap the tinsel edge to edge for 5 turns. Strip the tinsel to the core again. Unwind the thread and secure by the core with smooth wraps to that point and trim the excess. Wrap the thread to the start and trim the excess tinsel. Next, take a strand of the light blue silk floss. Secure the strand underneath the hook at the start with smooth wraps all the way to the tinsel. Wrap a smooth base to that point, spiral the thread out of the way and burnish the area. Wrap the silk floss along the base, unwind the thread, and secure the floss along the threaded area. Trim the rest and burnish the silk wrap. Wrap the thread with smooth wraps to the end of the tag. Measure the golden pheasant crest, trim, flatten the stem. Secure the crest on top of the hook and wrap the thread forward with smooth wraps to the start. Whip finish and trim. Next, I'm switching over to the Uni-Thread 17/0 Trico. For the veil, I'm using Mary dyed red and blue Swan and Teal. Start with a segment of red Swan or substitute with goose shoulder, then add blue on top slightly longer on a taper. Remove the excess strands so they're even. Then add the teal on top of the blue, slightly longer on a taper. Remove the excess fibers so they're even with the red and blue. Place both married sections back to back on top of the crest and tag tent style. And secure with a soft loop and make any adjustments at this point. Then add cinch wraps. Trim the excess fibers on a taper using a razor blade. Build up the thread and bring it back to the base of the tag. Next, prepare the black ostrich herl. Eliminate the excess fibers at the bottom of the stem and trim your tying point. Secure the herl by the stem at the base of the tail from underneath. Build up the base for the butt and spiral the thread out of the way. Wrap the herl edge to edge along the base 5 turns, unwind the thread and secure the rest of the herl along the threaded area. Whip finish and trim. Next, I'm switching over to the Semperfli Nano Silk 24/0 white. Start the thread at the return eye and trim the tag. Prepare the Oval Silver Tinsel the same way as the tag. Secure it from underneath the hook by the core and line up the tinsel portion even with the herl. Add the small embossed silver tinsel beside the oval and secure with a few wraps. Then add the yellow gold silk floss beside the flat. Grasp all 3 strands firmly and secure with smooth wraps to the ostrich herl butt, keeping the strands parallel to each other without crossing. Build up the thread with smooth wraps for a base to wrap the silk floss. Burnish the area before wrapping the silk floss. Wrap the silk floss along the threaded area about a quarter of the way forward. Secure from underneath the hook along the threaded area and trim the excess and burnish the silk body. Next, wrap the flat tinsel as a rib and mark where the second rib falls on the threaded area. Unwind the tinsel and move it aside with the other 2. This will mark where the body hackle starts. Prepare a white furnace hackle dyed light yellow, flatten the stem, fold the hackle. Secure the hackle by the tip from underneath the hook with smooth wraps to the start of the threaded area and trim the excess. Bring the thread back to the base of the silk floss with smooth wraps and secure the hackle in front of the hook with lead wire to keep it out of the way. Next, split the thread, wax both sides, add the yellow seals for dubbing loosely. Add the dubbing twister, double over the thread, and spin to secure. Remove the lead wire to free the hackle and wrap the thread forward out of the way. Brush out the dubbing and switch over to a hackle plier. And wrap along the threaded area behind and in front of the hackle, pulling the fibers back with your fingers to the end of the threaded area. Secure, trim the excess, and brush out the dubbing. Wrap the rib forward, starting with the flat tinsel. The second rib falls behind the hackle and wrap at the same angle and evenly spaced along the dubbing. Secure in front of the dubbing and trim the excess. Followed by the oval tinsel, wrap tight to the flat tinsel. Secure in front of the dubbing and trim the excess. Next, wrap the folded hackle tight to the oval tinsel, pulling the fibers back with your fingers. Wrap the remaining hackle as a collar once you get past the dubbing, with edge-to-edge wraps. Secure by the stem and trim the excess. Next, prepare a dyed red hackle for the first part of the throat. Flatten the stem, fold the hackle, and trim the tying point. Secure the hackle by the tip. Wrap the hackle as a collar with edge-to-edge wraps and secure by the stem and trim the excess. Build up the thread and whip finish. Remove the excess fibers from both hackles on top of the hook using your fingers and hackle pliers down to the stem. Next, prepare 2 Golden Pheasant tippets. Measure. I want the end of the tippets even with the veil tips. Have them back to back, flatten the stems, and secure on top of the hook in front of the collar. Once secure, trim the top portion of the tippets. Trim the stems on a taper using a razor and build up the thread. For the married wing, I'm using, from left to right, Golden Pheasant, Cory Bustard, Amherst Pheasant, another Cory Bustard, dyed red turkey, Florican Bustard, and Argus Pheasant. Stack the Cory Bustard on top of the Golden Pheasant. Have the tip slightly longer than the pheasant on a taper. Then add the Amherst on top of the Bustard. Slightly longer, and peel away the excess. Add the second Cory Bustard on top of the Amherst, peel away the excess. I want it even with the first. Then add the dyed red turkey on top, peel away the excess. Next is the Florican Bustard, peel the excess so it's even with the turkey. Then add the Argus Pheasant on top, slightly longer than the Florican, and peel the excess so it's even with the Florican. Finally, peel away the excess Golden Pheasant so it's even with the Cory Bustard. Trim the end square with the shortest fibers, in this case it's the Amherst. Check both wings to make sure they're even. Place both wings together, back to back, with the tips even, and bend the wings so there's a space between, and set it so the tippet's going between the wings. Secure on top of the hook with a soft loop and a cinch wrap, and make necessary adjustments at this point, and add a few more cinch wraps. Adjust the wings so they sit properly by bending the wings in an arch. Next, prepare the wood duck and the teal for the sides. The right side is completed with the wood duck on top and both segments even. Cut a segment of the wood duck and teal on the left side of the stem, both even and keeping the stems intact, and place them together with the ends even and bend it the opposite way to lock in the fibers. Secure the married segments on the left side of the wing with a soft loop. Make any adjustments at this point in a cinch wrap. Repeat the same thing on the right side of the wing. Line up the bars of the wood duck on both sides so they're even. Trim the excess wing and stems square to the hook to the right of the wrap, and build up the thread. Next, prepare the teal hackle, flatten the stem, fold the hackle, and leave the tip intact. Secure the teal by the tip from underneath the hook tight to the wraps, holding the wing. Make a few wraps, fold the tip back, wrap over it, and trim the excess. Wrap the folded teal forward, edge to edge in front of the wing, pulling the fibers back with your fingers. Secure by the stem and trim the excess. Remove the excess teal fibers sticking up in front of the main wing so it's even with the red hackle. Next, I'm going to use blue macaw and natural guinea fowl for the cheeks. Take a segment of each feather, both even on each side of the stem, and secure on each side of the wing, left and right. with a soft loop and cinch wraps. Trim the excess fibers with a razor and build up the thread. Next, prepare 2 segments of bronze mallard. Trim the segments from each side of the stem, left and right, and leave the stems intact. Have both sides even. Take the 2 bronze mallard segments and place them back to back with the tips even, and bend them the opposite way at the same time to conform to the main wing. Place both wings on top of the main wing so it straddles it evenly, and secure it with a soft loop and a cinch wrap. Next, prepare the Golden Pheasant crest. Use a proper crest that has the same arch as the wing. Trim the excess and remove any unwanted fibers. Flatten the stem for the tying point. Place the crest over the wing in the center and secure by the stem. Next, prepare blue macaw for the horns. Take a single strand from each side of the stem, left and right. Measure the tips evenly and trim the butts. Secure the horns one at a time on each side of the wing. Match the butts and the tips will be even. Trim the bronze mallard on a taper with a razor to finish the head. Build up the thread, whip finish, and trim. Start the black thread, trim the tag, cover the white head, whip finish, trim, and add thin head cement. Once the head is completely dry, add the 5-minute epoxy evenly around the head. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and hit the like button to see more of them.